is a tricky one. It says we got these observers. We got a person here, we got a person here, B, and we got a person here at C, and this is drawn, and it tells us the distance between A and B is 4,000, and the distance between B and C is 7,000. And then it says A hears the sound of the cannon 2 seconds before B, and C hears the sound 4 seconds before B. Determine the bearing and distance the cannon is from point B. So first is to understand, we want to know the angle, right? The bearing off of north, right? So this is this angle right here, which if we think about it right away, it's got to be some sort of opposite, right? Opposite, and then a length this way, so that's going to be a tangent. So we're looking at some sort of tangent here, but we also need to know distance, so we want to know the distance here. And there's different ways that we could solve this problem, but you're learning about hyperbolas. So if you could kind of imagine right now that there's a hyperbola coming here, right? So there's this arm coming up this way. There's also a part coming down here, not useful. So we're looked at this one, and then there's another hyperbola that's doing something like this. It's opening this way and this way. And so I'm going to have this hyperbola intersecting with this hyperbola, and that is going to give me some value. And that would be intersection point is going to be an XY pair. So what we have to be able to do is build those two hyperbolas, right? Which means we need to know this one's on the y-axis, so it's going to be some vertical translation up, and this one is on the x-axis, but it's going to be some horizontal translation over. If we go, where do I have them here? So I was looking at these formulas, kind of a combination because we need one of each, and we need to move it either up or over, but not both. So it's a combination of looking at these two, right? It's not quite as complicated because the center is not HK, right? One is moved over and one is moved up. But we need the values of A and B. All right, now, because it's hard for me to write, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. This is worked out, so I don't need to do it again. Right, we know that we have the foci, right, are going to be at 0, 0, and 0, 4,000 for the first. I'm first working on the parabola that is opening this way. So I have one opening here, and I know where A and B have to be because it says it's 4,000. So this whole thing is moved up. When I'm trying to find, where's the good, here we go, right? I'm opening this way, right? So I basically need to find these values of A, right? And we know, we're given some good information here. We know that the center has to be at 0, 2,000 because that has to be halfway between the transverse axis, which is the distance between, I had this drawn up. I'm doing the math problem. All right, so we have, sorry, my child interrupted me. We have the transverse axis distance is 2 times 1100, 2200 feet. But that transverse distance is the distance up and down. We only need one part of that, so we just need the value 1100. We can work backwards to then find the value of B, right? So the 2000 is moving it up, divided by A squared. We found the value of B because we were given C because A is at 0, 4,000. So we knew C was halfway in between there. So that's how we knew it was 2,000. And we can find the equation for the upward facing one. And then you can do the same thing for the sideways facing one, right? Same idea, right? It's moved over 3,500 and you find the values of A and B. And you end up, I graph these two, right? You end up with something that looks like this. You have to change the settings a little bit. So if you can imagine, the cannon is right here, right? So now we have, if we have an intersection point, that means we have an X value and we have a Y value, which we can then find using, we can have the tangent to find the angle. And once we know the values of, right, once we have an x value and a y value, we can also find the distance, right? You can say here and make a triangle to calculate the distance. So I hope that helps. This is a tricky problem. If it doesn't, let me know.